Okay, Brian, so we're going to start off our lesson today by writing down some observations that you notice about this rock.
Let's say the rock is shiny. The color is gold. And it's heavy.
Okay, that's really good. These are properties that actual geologists use to help them identify different rocks and minerals when they're out in the field. What I want you to do now is I want you to fill out the K column and the W column on your KWL chart about the words mineral identification. You can use them both together or you can do each word separate.
Okay. So for the no, I'm going to put that this is like a rock.
Okay.
And for the want to learn, I will write that I want to know how they're formed.
Okay, good. Okay, Brian, well, you were able to identify some really good properties before, and geologists use those properties to help them identify minerals. But you were missing a couple of good ones that geologists use. So let's take a look at your mineral identification guide, and they have different properties that we'll take a look at. So the first one here is color, and you were able to describe the color of your mineral very accurately, so we can move on from that one. Let's take a look at the second one. The second one is streak. A mineral streak is the powder that's left behind after you scratch the mineral on a streak plate. So let's practice. All you need to do is take the mineral in your hand and you scrape it on the streak plate and you see what color the powder is after you're done. So go ahead, Brian, tell me what color that is after we were done with the streak plate.
The color is dark goldish gray.
Very good. Let's take a look at the next property. The next property is hardness. And a lot of geologists use hardness and they use it and they compare the hardness of the rock to Mohs hardness scale. So, Mohs hardness scale ranges from 1 to 10, and we use objects like your fingernail or a penny or this piece of glass to help us figure out how hard this mineral is. So now if I can scratch this mineral with my fingernail, then that means that the mineral will have a hardness of less than 2. What do you think, Brian? Was I able to scratch that with my fingernail?
Yes.
So then what could this mineral be?
Be gypsum or talc.
Very good. And we can do other tests to figure out which one it actually is. So let's move on to our next property, which is called texture. For texture, all you need to do is just hold the mineral in your hands and see how it feels, okay? Does it feel like powder? Does it feel glassy? Sometimes minerals can even feel greasy. They can also feel sharp like a metal or very smooth. So go ahead and take a look. What do you think that mineral feels like?
Sharp like metal.
Excellent. Another property that geologists use is called luster, and you were able to discuss luster a little bit when you took a look at this rock before, but we're going to get a little bit more specific now. So for luster, when you look at the rock, you can hold it up to the light and see if it's shiny like a metal, which would be metallic, or if it doesn't shine like a metal, and that would be non-metallic. So what do you think? Do you think that's metallic or non-metallic?
Metallic.
Good. This one's shiny like a metal, so it'd be metallic. Our last property that we're going to take a look at is how the rock breaks. And how the rock breaks can either be divided into 2 different categories. There's cleavage and fracture. In a rock that has cleavage, that means that the rock breaks, and when it breaks into very, very flat sides. For fracture, when the rock breaks, it breaks very randomly and there's really no pattern to it. It's very jagged. So I want you to take a look at this rock and tell me, is it cleavage? Does it break into very flat sides? Or is it fracture? Does it break randomly?
Cleavage.
Very good. Okay, Brian, I want you to try to identify this mineral.
Color's pink. The streak. I don't know.
Okay, well sometimes what we do is we take our finger and we put it right on top.
White.
Good.
Hardness on the glass. I can't tell.
Okay, well before when we used the mineral, my fingernail was able to scratch the mineral, so my fingernail was harder. Which is scratching what there?
The rock's got a scratch in the glass.
Okay, so which one will be harder?
The rock.
Good. So what do you think the hardness would be?
7.
Good.
The texture. Feels soapy or greasy. The luster. Non-metallic.
Good. Why do you think that's non-metallic?
It's a little earthy, chalky. Cleavage fracture. This looks flat.
So what do you think that would be?
Cleavage.
Okay, well sometimes it can get a little confusing because you want to look at the rock as a whole when you do the cleavage and the fracture. And if you look really closely here, even on the flat side, what do you notice?
Indentations.
Yeah, it's a little bit jagged here. It's got a little bit of these indentations. So you want to look at the rock as a whole thing. So what do you think that rock would be?
Fracture.
Okay, Brian, let's just take a look at some of the properties that you were having difficulty with before, which were the streak, the hardness, and the cleavage or fracture.
Okay, streaked. Can't tell. Oh, colorless. White.
Okay.
Hardness. Scratch the glass. Scratches the glass, so 7. And for cleavage, it looks a little flat, but it also jagged as a whole, so I'm going to say it's fractured.
Very good. So what I'd like you to do now is take your properties and we're going to match them on this chart and see which mineral you have.
Quartz.
Excellent.